Good day, class. I'm Mark. That's Gonzo over there. And on the other side of Gonzo, we have a special guest, WallyDM. And today we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons puzzles that don't suck.
Hmm.
All right, Gonzo.
Yes, sir.
Why would someone want to even put puzzles in a D&D game?
That's a good question, Mark. I want to again welcome WallyDM from his YouTube channel, WallyDM, aptly named, and he's a master of puzzles. We'll talk about that in a minute. But puzzles and traps in a game of D&D goes back to the beginning of the game. In fact, from what I remember playing the game in the original edition, that's kind of all it was. You created a character or two, and you took them through these death dungeons. And every step there was something you had to figure out or get through.
Right.
And if there wasn't a monster, there was a puzzle. If there wasn't a puzzle, there was a trap. And if you made it to the end, you got a bunch of gold and silver, and you moved on, magic items and all that. So they've been a part of the game from the beginning, and they're a big part of what make a lot of things interesting. If you think of the opening scene of Indiana Jones, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
The big rolling ball that comes chasing him, and the spike traps, and only the penitent may pass, all of those things. So it's something that we see a lot in a lot of movies and a lot of pop culture, and it's something that makes the game, or can make the game, a little more fun and enjoyable for many reasons. So let's talk about some of those reasons, and maybe some of the reasons we don't like them.
Okay, so what are some of the? So I know some of the things that we like about them is they do provide some variety. Obviously, if you didn't have puzzles and traps, you would just have a bunch of people social interacting with other characters, fighting. But it is part of that exploration part, is that you're going to have puzzles and you're going to have some traps that kind of adds to that wedge. So that's the thing. So and I would say one of the things I like about it is that it kind of showcases different characters that aren't necessarily in the limelight. For example, when it's a stealthy kind of thing, obviously the rogue is going to be involved, and that's where they're going to shine. The martial type of character who busts heads and breaks down doors, they have their opportunity during combat and all. So this is an opportunity for characters who are maybe more wisdom or intelligence based. They can have some skill checks, and they can really start to shine maybe during that puzzle trap. So that's one reason I kind of like them. One of the things I really like about using it as a dungeon master is to add an opportunity to add some creativity to the adventure. It can be really interesting. Like, I know one of my dungeons, I had I said that the person who built this dungeon was straight up crazy. And he did some crazy things, and he did some things just to mess with players' minds. And I did have some puzzles in there that were made for just that reason. So, all right. So what do you think about that, Wally? What's your opinion on puzzles?
A lot of the reasons that I love to put puzzles in my game, and you kind of touched on it already, is the fact that it adds a third element to the game. You've got your role playing, you've got your combat, but you've also got the exploration of the environment around you. You interact with it. You're pulling things in and out. You're having your characters do things that aren't talking to people or aren't swinging a sword or casting a spell. And I think that really stems back to the early 80s when I started to pick up the game. Is there was a lot of emphasis on that, on putting traps and puzzles into your game. But probably the main reason that I love puzzles, and one of the biggest pros on it, is accomplishment. There's nothing better in the world to see your players when they figure out a puzzle and their eyes light up, they get big, they high five each other, and they're just excited about it. Like, holy cow, that we put it all together. That was really cool. And it even extends beyond that. After your game, they talk about that. That's the perfect puzzle. If they're talking about that for years to come, if it created a D&D story, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I remember Gandalf when he, speak friend and enter. And when he finally figured out, he just had to say the Elvish word for friend. They were all like, oh, okay, that was it, but they were excited to get in.
Absolutely.
For many reasons, but yeah. But I do know one of the things that is difficult for me as a player is that I am actually challenged when a puzzle is presented in front of me. And I've had the experience where I know it's a puzzle, I know there's an answer to it, I know it's here somewhere, and I can't figure it out. So I'm kind of waiting on someone else at the table to figure it out for me, because I'm kind of stuck. And that can be kind of a negative to that, because I can feel like I can kind of check out a little bit and just let them do it because I'm stuck. My brain is just locked up for some reason. I don't know how you handle that, Wally, but it's just something that I've dealt with before.
So, Gonzo, the way that I would do that as a DM is if I'm seeing all of the players struggle, is I would go right away to an intelligence or an investigation check with a roll and perhaps enlighten them a little bit more by giving them hints. Now, I have referred to clues and hints as different things as far as puzzles are concerned. I have clues that are pieces of the puzzle or to help pieces that fit in, and hints are things that the DM would give if the players start to struggle. Now, of course, if one of the players is already taking off with it and solving it, then I would look at you, Gonzo, and be like, so what is your character doing while he's doing this stuff? Because if you're just sitting there watching him work on the puzzle, then perhaps there's going to be a monster that's coming up on your tail. And if you're sitting here watching, wow, man, you're really solving that. This is cool. But you're not paying attention, then I like to keep everybody involved at the table.
That's good. Yeah, I'd be sharpening my sword or something. Or, playing my banjo. So, cool.
Very good. Well, one of the things I know is what about I know from when I try to design a puzzle, I struggle with, is it too hard? Is it too easy?
If you have one bucket that holds 2 gallons and another bucket that holds 5 gallons, how many buckets do you have?
2?
Thank you.
Lord, I wonder what's got the matter.
So I'm really not good at puzzles and creating them. I'll be honest. And honestly, I just go to the internet and try to find some. I find a book or something to find it from. But maybe you could talk, Wally, about what makes a good puzzle. How do you know it's good? How do you know it's not good? Like how do you know that it's good enough to use in a campaign?
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Well, and the process of designing a puzzle in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll go into a couple of things that you said, because the first thing is too easy. In my opinion, there is not a puzzle that's too easy. A puzzle needs to be interesting. It needs to be fun.
That's key.
It needs to be memorable. It doesn't matter if it's easy. Now, a puzzle can be too hard, and you have to judge that. If you're running puzzles as a dungeon master, you're just going to have to know your players. You're going to have to run a few and see what happens. And I would definitely suggest with the easiest puzzle that you can find. And once you get through that, and if they're very responsive to it, they enjoyed it, they had fun, they were interested in it, then you can move on to a few other hard ones. Now, that's not to say that like hard puzzles where you have to do 8 lines of arithmetic or 5-level grid logic puzzles or move all of the things from this over to that without all that stuff. That's not to say that it can't be fun. It's just going to depend on your players. If they like to spend 20 to 30 minutes to work out a puzzle, then include those in your game. But I am a firm believer in very easy to average difficulty level, and for them to have a puzzle solved in 5 to 10 minutes, or me giving them hints that more information is needed to solve it.
Well, I think that feeds right into your thought process of that there's nothing more satisfying as a dungeon master than watching your players solve a puzzle. So presenting easy puzzles isn't a bad thing, because when they solve it, they feel like they're progressing, they feel like they've accomplished something, and they're moving forward. It's a good moment, a good moment in that story. Like you said, it's something they'll remember, even if it is easy. So
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
So I mentioned the fact that I know as a lazy DM, sometimes I go and just get puzzles from books and things. And one of the reasons we had Wally on this channel is because he has a new book out, and we love WallyDM, his channel already. And then for him to put a book out, we're like, yes, please. So yes, Wally, you want to talk a little bit about this awesome book that you put together?
I do. So this is WallyDM's Journal of Puzzle Encounters. Now, I started my YouTube channel probably about 4 years ago, and it focuses primarily on puzzles. And I do a full demonstration in the video, and hopefully that has helped a lot of folks out. But now with my book, I have 60 puzzle encounters in here, all in written form that you can just drop right into your game. If you're looking for a puzzle that is in a wizard tower, you can thumb through the book. You are going to find something and you can just put it in there as is. I even have block text that you can read to your players. I've got a section called Make It Your Own. So I give additional ideas. If you don't like the idea I presented, how about a few of these ideas and things of that nature. Now, also included in the book is I have a table of 100 dungeon rooms. So if you're designing a dungeon and you decide, well, I have an empty room here, I don't know what to put, you get your percentile die out, you roll it, and I give you a 70% finished idea. Now, some of these ideas could lead to you actually, without even knowing it, designing your own puzzles. So like I said, it's just an idea. You put it in the room and you kind of just see what happens. And sometimes the players, if you've run puzzles before, your players will make it a puzzle. And it's kind of just, you go back and forth. So 60 puzzles in there, a table of 100 different dungeon rooms you can use, and a few more secret things like how to design your own puzzles and a few other trinkets that I won't spoil for you.
Okay, cool. Well, we have our copy ordered. We're waiting for it to come in, and
thank you.
And that table sounds great. I mean, I just throw an owlbear in the room, so that's going to be much better. That's going to be much better to use something like that, which will make me think a little bit than the standard.
There you go.
Standard. There's an owlbear growling, So.
Yeah, honestly, I love this book because I'm intimidated, as I said, about making puzzles on my own. And one of the things that I think a lot of dungeon masters struggle with is the idea they think they have to be good at doing everything in the game. Like they have to be good at designing encounters. They have to know how to put combat together and all. And especially I think for a new DM, something like this is really, really great. And for any DM, but
yes,
I think new ones are really intimidated to even get started or even as a player to DM because they're like, gosh, you have to know so much. And there are tools out there to help you do your job as a dungeon master. And this is one that would really help. And so we're really excited about it. When we saw this book, we were like, oh, we've got to get Wally on this on the show and talk a little bit about this because we're excited about it. We're excited about his channel. If you've not already gone to WallyDM channel, you've got to make sure you subscribe. A lot of great information there. He has shared some of these, I believe, from your book on the channel, but there's a huge chunk of it in the book that is not on his channel and is only available in this book. Have it there, even if you've seen it on the channel, to have that already written out, ready to go, is so much nicer than sitting like me. I sit there and take notes and I have to rewind like a million times. I missed that, So it's nice to have that ready to just pull out and just drop in your game. So we really appreciate, one of the things I want to say is that when you contribute something like this to the whole D&D community, that's really big. And thank you for doing that because you're actually adding to, I'm always talking to Gonzo. I'd like to put a video out that adds to the D&D community. And I feel like this book is one of those things that adds to the D&D community. So thank you for doing that.
It's a must-have dungeon master resource book. There's only a few of those, and I would feel this is definitely one because it's hard to find puzzles and traps. To have a book like that is just amazing. So
it only took you a great product. 4 days to put the book together, right?
And 4 days is about 2 years, and absolutely.
2 years.
Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate that, and I do want everyone out there to know that when you're picking this book up, you're picking up a book of puzzles that are designed to be fun. There's a few harder ones in there if you want to challenge your players, but this isn't for brain busters. This isn't to frustrate your players. This is to have fun, something interesting, and hopefully there is a story that comes out of this book from you to the DM to your players that they'll talk about for a very long time.
Absolutely. Awesome. And you said our favorite word, fun. We're all about the fun, and that's all that's what we wanted. That's why we play this game, and that's why we created this channel, is to help people add more fun to their games. And I think that's what we have time for today. Thanks for being here, WallyDM. I appreciate you coming out. And with that,
class dismissed.
Oh, no!